Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early. It's 3:15 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. You guys know what that means. If I'm here before 3:30, I am fired up. I'm ticked off. This is the reason why I have a channel. I come across stories. I remember when the first time this happened. It was the Trump talking about airports in 1776. That's one of the first times I had this feeling. And I'm just so blown away by a story that I need to share with other people. I need to say, oh my God, look, 'cause there's a lot of people nowadays, especially that are so busy with families and jobs and everything that they don't see the news every day. And luckily, I take the time or make the time to look at the daily stories. And I come across these stories and I feel like I just have to get on a rooftop and scream and oh my God, look at what's going on in this country or the world, but in this country. And this is my way to do that, this channel. What am I talking about? I'm talking about two specific stories I came across today. I'm going to talk about the first one a little bit. It was a Trump rally in Texas, and I'm sure he said a lot of offensive stuff, and I'll get to that in another video. This is actually the first story about the rally that I came across, and it was just enough to get me going that I wanted just to talk about this. And then I'll talk about something that happened in Los Angeles, and I'm going to relate it to a couple stories in my life. All right, first of all, Trump in Texas had a rally Saturday night, and he was talking about the press, and he was talking about the recent with the Supreme Court. There was a leak, and it was a true leak, because that's exactly what happened with women's rights to their bodies. You know what I'm talking about, the procedure, and the link to this will be right down below, so you could watch this yourselves. And I had a few thoughts as I was shocked and appalled as I watched this. It scared the bejesus out of me, to be honest. It's this move toward fanaticism, fascism, nationalism, just back to something that existed in the 30s and 40s in Germany. All right, what did he say? He talked about the press. He talked about leakers. I'm going to talk about that in a second, the word leakers. And about what happened with the Supreme Court. And he says this is his idea of how to solve this problem of leakers. They should go to I guess his Gestapo police should go to. He said you know the name of the paper, the editor of a paper, and I'm not sure who he was talking about. I don't know if he was talking about the New York Times or Washington Post or which one he was talking about. Whichever one broke it, I don't remember, but he said they should go to the editor and the reporter and demand to know who the leaker was. And if they don't, and of course he does this all in his the way that I can't stand that voice and the mimicking, the hand gestures and everything, and the crowd is just going wild. This is what he says though. He said, well, then, if the editor of the free press of a newspaper should go to jail. If you don't, you're going to go to jail. He says we should threaten them with jail if they don't say who the leaker is. Then he goes further than that, and he says, well, when you go to jail, and he talks about the editor will soon become the wife of another inmate. He insinuates, threatens about rape, assault in a prison. And this scares the hell out of me. It does. Think of it. This was a true story, and it was leaked. I'm gonna have several links down below about freedom of the press and the importance of freedom of the press to a democracy, to inform the nation, the public, to lead to a free government, to tell the people what's actually going on in the government. We used to call them whistleblowers. Now it's turned, and it was a good thing. It's people that, that informed the general public of things that they need to know about, that they want to know about, that's important to their lives, taking away somebody's freedoms. And Trump has turned this into the leakers, like it's a bad thing. And it's people that are doing a service to the country, that are informing the nation of what's going on. with their freedoms, with what's actually happening in Mar-a-Lago or Delaware or wherever. I thought about flipping this around. What if the leaker was leaking something about something that Trump supporters were very fond of? What if it was something like taking away your Second Amendment rights? What if the leaker had come across the Supreme, there was going to be a Supreme Court ruling where the Second Amendment rights were going to be taken away? Everything was going to be confiscated. What if? And this person said, "Oh, you should know about this." The leaker. Well, then that person would be looked at as a hero. Oh my God, he's a hero. He came out and he let everybody know what was going to happen. Well, that's the way the other half of the country looks at this. That person, like I said, with the links down below, you'll see that freedom of the press is important. People won't come forward with information if they know that you can't threaten somebody that didn't even do anything wrong, like the editor of a newspaper. It's just a fundamental tenet of democracy. Not even just our country, but of democracy, of the idea of democracy, a fundamental tenet. And here you have an ex-president and possibly a future president threatening the very foundation of democracy. And not only that, you have the entire crowd cheering and laughing like it's a big joke. That scares the hell out of me, and it should you. The link's down below. Next story, it's from Los Angeles, and this picture was verified by Twitter verification or whatever, some different verification. It's on an overpass, and granted, it's only about maybe 10 people at the most, but it's people with banners talking about Jewish people and what ye said. Ye was right. That's what this says on their banners. But the most offensive thing is they're giving a salute on the overpass. I'll put this picture on my thumbnails because you guys have to see this. There's nothing that just ticks me off, offends me, and scares. Because when something makes you angry, it's really fear. It is. And this scares the hell out of me. We've all seen historic movies of there'll be links down below on just some of the atrocities that were committed. And here these people are. And I'm trying to look at their faces. Like, who would do this? Who would possibly even think, who would even just do this on a dare or think it's fun? Not even seriously. Because of what the pure evil that this time, this particular government and this time represented. Like I said, some of the links will be down below. The claims of what happened at some of these concentration camps and stuff like that. I've got some of those down below, so you could read them. And they're actually saluting. I'm going to tell you two quick stories. Okay, there's not many Jewish people around here. It's mainly Caucasian. It's a mainly Protestant. What do they call it? Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I can't remember the thing for it. But I worked with a older Jewish man. I'll even tell you his name. His name was Marvin Brownstein. I know he's passed away. He passed away a couple decades ago. I worked with him back in the 90s. This is when I worked for a news distribution company. I was a truck driver driving magazines down to New York City. And I worked with this guy, Marvin Brownstein, and I was using back then. So I was very blunt with the stuff I said too. But one thing, I would always be broke. I told you guys, I'd be broke the day after payday. And the one person, there was hundreds of people in that whole building. And the one person, I would have money for food. I would spend all my money on substances in one night, $500, $600, which would be $1,200, $1,500 today a week. And I wouldn't have money for lunch the next day. And the one person that would lend me money for food was Marvin Brownstein. No problem, Daryl, here you go. And he knew I was an addict. And because of him, I was able to eat. Some people might call that an enabler, but this was really money for food. And I remember asking Marvin. He had the beard. He was a short, small guy, but he was fiery, man. He was very proud of himself, very respect, had a lot of self-respect. And I remember him asking him questions because I didn't know the answers to them. I remember asking him, Marvin, why do people feel this way about Jewish people? And all he said to me is, Daryl, I don't know. And that was it. You could go back to these stories from biblical times or money or whatever, but all I know is the one person that helped me through this addiction, that lent me money for food, was him. And I remember asking him what a mensch, I heard the word mensch. What's a mensch? I remember asking him, Marvin, what's a mensch? And he said, Daryl, it's kind of like macho, a stand-up guy. And I was like, Marvin, you're a mensch, and we had a great rapport. He is, I still remember him decades later. Here I am, a Catholic guy from the suburbs, and he is one of the most important people in my entire life. Okay, now another story. I used to hang out, I told you guys the clubs, the after hours clubs I used to go to. And one of my best friends back then, his name was Kenny. He had a tattoo right here, and he hung out in these clubs. He was my best friend, but he had another side where he kind of was like these people. And it said color, or a lack of color. I don't want to say the word. It begins with W. And then it said power, tattooed across his chest, or his stomach right here. And I used to think that was kind of cool, when I was all buzzed and everything. Hey, look what my buddy's got here. And I used to go over his house, and he actually had a flag from that time period with the symbol, red and black, red, black, and white, the symbol. He had it big full-size flag, facing outwards in his kitchen window. He had a double kitchen window, and it was facing outwards into the backyard. Okay, I was over there one day, and he didn't think much about it, but there's a fence, and then there was another street behind. Houses abutting backyards together on the other side of the fence. And one day, and this old guy came over, this old guy kind of walking with a cane and bald. And I was worried that he was having a medical problem. He got closer to us, and he was upset. He could barely talk. His eyes were watering up. This is a true story. This man fought in World War II. I think, I can't remember because my mouth just dropped open. And he had seen this flag. He fought against these people. I think he said France, that he was in France, like a paratrooper in France. But I was just there in stunned silence, because I was like, oh my God, I never approved of that flag. But to have this guy walk over, this 100% true story. My buddy took down that flag. He ended up putting it back up later, like an idiot, but he took it down that day. And to see that man that fought for America, one of our heroes, one of truly the best of America's greatest heroes, to see one of the surviving America's greatest heroes come over with almost tears in his eyes. How could you put that flag up in my backyard? Do you know what an insult that is to all my friends that I lost, all the people, I still get goosebumps, 100% true story, and I look at these people on this bridge giving this salute. I don't even know what to say. That ain't America, man. That's about as far away from American and being an American, a proud American. That's about as far away from being a proud American, a real American, than you could ever be. All right. The links will be down below. You guys have a great Monday.